Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to the NASCAR 2022 series that I'm running here. So I'm actually a little bit behind. Not sure when this is going to get put out. Might happen today, might not. Basically, today's the day that I should be. Already it's race day for 2024, but it would be when I'd already want to be here in the next race, which again in 2022 was in Atlanta, but is Bristol this time. But what it means is I'm flying across country again and looking at the airports I need to get into. I'm leaving Phoenix Goodyear, which is where we were at here when we came out here for the last race, and we're going to fly across to the Atlanta Speedway track, which is not that large of a strip either, and so I can't fly a larger airliner in there or anything, so I've got to come in with a Cessna, which can make the flight, but it's obviously going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to start here over on the GA ramp, and so we're here, with the Walker livery, of course, as would be expected, given that this is a Walker Air Transport Tour, and that is who we're carting around with our VIPs, who are, again, paying us to take them around to all the races this year and get things going. Alright, so we're just going to make sure we got some basic stuff. All the throttle levers, everything is set off here as we're getting ready to take off. So we're going to get the battery turned on. That's going to start to get everything powering up. Engine generators are on already. Rid of our master caution light here. And we're going to put the avionics in dispatch mode. Go ahead and get the pitot heaters running. And then it's time to, as always, get the FMC going. So we're going to get our position initialization, get things set up, head over here to the flight plan. Should be able to recall the flight plan, pull that in from SimBrief. So these are the airport IDs. Again, this is the Atlanta Speedway Airport. So it has a runway of about 5,500 feet. So definitely too short. I was initially thinking, I'll fly this with like the Boeing 737, and that's not going to work. I don't know that I could take off here, and I know for certain that I can't land there. Alright, so we are going to take off on runway 3, and we're going to do the FTHL S6 departure, and going to Maxo transition is what we've got. But then on the other side, there's really not a whole lot. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do RNAV 06, but these approaches are coming basically from the north in all cases. So nothing really from the west, which is the direction we're coming in. We've got some legs we need to get rid of here. So I think I want to just head that way, because you've got to get rid of all the discontinuities in the flight plan, otherwise it won't work. The FMC gets a little bit lost, which would make sense. Let me get the avionics fully on here, and that way we'll get to be able to tell if things are working. It's obviously getting everything aligned so that it can go ahead and work through that. Alright, so we're going to put about 4,200 pounds of fuel in here. So that's going to be darn near the maximums, because we are pretty darn close. Well, sort of. I mean, in theory, I'm supposed to have a distance of 2,100 nautical miles on this plane. We're going 1,400, so it's interesting that I need that much fuel. But maybe the maximums that are calculated by the manufacturer on a plane don't have anything to do with any of the time it takes to actually move the plane realistically and get it from a parking space to something else. Alright, so altimeter is 2995. So I'm going to get that updated. Oh, that's actually my location that I'm arriving at. It's 2998 here in Phoenix. Temperature 16. And we've got variable winds of 4 knots, so I guess it doesn't really matter where we're going to say that we have this. So just go ahead and put it at the runway heading, if I'm remembering correctly. I am. So 4 knots really is considered wind calm, so shouldn't really matter there. Flight level 370. We'll set that. I think that should get me what I need. It feels like I'm missing something. Get our beacon lights. Don't need our logo lights in the middle of the day. And should be able to start moving along here soon. So before I do that though, let me get my autopilot set. So we'll get the flight director turned on, yaw damper, and then we'll get the nav and the VNav. Get those things in, get our altitude dialed in, get the emergency lights armed, get rid of that message. We just have what we'd expect, which is the parking brake here. Protect the cabin pressure. Not sure why that was open. I think it is a default when we get into the plane. So yeah, the weekend was pretty calm, or pretty calm. It was what to be expected. Had a fun race here in Phoenix. Chase Briscoe went ahead and was the winner, but a little bit of interesting information we heard as we've been getting ready to head out was he's the 200th winner in Premier Series history, and I'm not sure if what that means is that literally only 200 people have ever won basically a NASCAR Cup race over the history of NASCAR. I suppose that's possible. I mean, certainly there have been a lot of repeat winners and, people that win often, not necessarily, there's been repeat champions as well. But, winners, certainly you get more than that. But in the interim, let's start getting the engines ready to go. So we'll start the right engine up here. Just be looking for our spin up here. We're looking for N1 or N2 to get to about 20. And then we can go ahead and start that up. So there we go. Protect that so we don't mistakenly bump it mid-flight and suddenly turn the engines off. That might make for a much more exciting experience for our passengers than the NASCAR races have done. So looks like we're in decent shape here. Yeah, things are starting to spin up, so let's go ahead and start the other engine. Now we're all set. So everything is spinning up there. I don't need pushback. We're facing out in the right direction here. Now I will have to taxi to the end of the field the way that I've got my flight plan filed. So we're going to have to head off here, get to the taxiway, and then go ahead and head off to the left, which would basically be the southwest. So we're going to want to go off that way. Should be okay there. Alright, so we've got everything set. I should be able to get moving now. Speed ourselves up. And hopefully get rolling soon. Alright, parking brake isn't listed anymore, so there we go. Don't want to go too fast, so back the engines off now that we're rolling. That might be too low. And we'll head off down the taxiway here. So that will get us moving. But yeah, pretty sparse airport here. I don't know, very unfamiliar with how things function. We'll kind of step out of the little bit of the role play that the series has had about what we're trying to do and so forth, and now just kind of switch into, hey, how is this working? What's going on? And again, those of you that have followed any of the flight sim stuff on the channel know that I am not an aviation expert, not in the middle of that world in any way in reality. So this is all new for me. I know nothing about this airport, but I'm assuming, given that it's Goodyear, it has something to do with that organization. And if you're unfamiliar with Goodyear, Goodyear blimps are kind of the staple of major sporting events. Certainly be present at NASCAR races and so forth. So I think when I landed here, talked about, I don't see any blimp hangar or anything, but maybe they don't house one here. I don't see it on my Navigraph chart or anything like that. But we're just going to go down all the way to the end of the runway. So there's really no reason to hold ourselves short. We got plenty of time to get where we need to this afternoon. Again, at this point I'm flying because in theory this would have been on Saturday before the race, so that we get there the day before and then we'd be good to go. But we've already passed that day in real life, and as I said, today in 2024, this is Bristol race day this afternoon. In 2022 would be Atlanta race day. So if I was taking off at 2 p.m. from Phoenix, we would not be making the race because it would already be 5 p.m. in Atlanta. The race might be over by now. So if we were flying on Sunday. But once again, I'm doing my best to keep up and keep this series kind of current. My goal had been go ahead and just provide something on a weekly basis for the most part. I mean, there are some weeks that NASCAR skips. All right, I'm not going to go all the way. I think there's a little further. Actually, it doesn't even look like it's modeled, because in theory on the Navigraph chart there's another little bit of taxiway that goes out that lets me get to, yeah, well, this is technically not supposed to be the piano keys. So as I'm looking at my Navigraph map off to the side, I'm pulling up one taxiway early, and that I should be just ahead of the piano keys, but it doesn't ultimately really matter. So I did a sloppy job, didn't put on my taxi lights. Alright, so we are set. Get our parking brake set, get everything. One final check here. Get our lights set now. I want landing lights. Get the strobe on. I don't think I need the beacon anymore. I need my flaps to 15. That's the takeoff flaps. So again, that's why you do those last checks. We'll get the trim set to within the green. That's always makes for a little bit of a smoother takeoff, where otherwise I think I would have been more nose down. So that would have made it a little bit more of a challenge, and then autopilot, I think, works with some of that as it goes along. Alright, so with that set, I think it's estimating about a 3.5 hour flight. So I think we're good to go here. Roll the engines up. I must have had my gear a little bit off. That was an interesting little lurch over to the right over there. But we'll get ourselves rolling. We're already up to 100. I think I can probably rotate pretty soon. It's been a while since I've flown the Cessna. Alright. Nice takeoff. Positive rate of climb. Go ahead and put the gear up. So you can see that's already sending us through the roof with our altitude. There we go. Autopilot's already popped in there. Let me see if I can get VNav set. Okay, we're climbing at a rate of 7,500. That is a bit crazy. So let me get close here, and then we'll put the autopilot on, and hopefully this will then get ourselves on course here as we head out, and that will hopefully include some vertical change, but it may be waiting until we stop the speed here. I do need to back this off before I go over speed at the lower altitude. So there we go. Now, well, no, I thought it was grabbing it. I saw the 200 over here is what I'm looking at, if you're not familiar to flying at all. So let's see. In theory, I wonder, I probably don't actually have, yeah, I don't. Alright, so let me fix that in the flight management computer. At this point, we're at almost 4,000 feet, so it can hold the altitude. Alright, so sometimes it's a bit of fun to get the autopilot to do things. So in theory, so I think part of the problem was before I turned it on, so we'll just do V-speed. That's kind of the backup, so it's basically suggesting I climb at this rate. So we'll do that. We're going to need to rev the engines now. As you can see, we're losing airspeed. That would be a thing we'd prefer not to do. So I can pull the flaps in. That will help. So that should also assist. There you go. Now we've got a much faster rate of acceleration. So I can probably back off so that I, again, don't go over speed, because we don't want to go above 250 below 10,000 feet. Otherwise, people become unhappy with us, is the rules of flight. So sorry, I'm zooming out on my Navigraph. It's causing movement over here as well, because I hadn't clicked properly. Alright. So we are heading up. But yeah, you know, big news in the flight sim world for me is I've actually finally gotten my what's known as an S1 certification in WAT Sim ATC. So I have been spending a lot of time, and that's partially, I think, why this video is late, is I've been spending time actually doing air traffic control in the Atlanta region for the ZTL RTEC, and going ahead and working there. Spent most of my time at the Charlotte airport, but did a little bit at Birmingham and so forth. But I've probably spent about 8 hours controlling over the last 2 or 3 days, and really enjoying that new experience. That's been something I've been working on, studying for, training on for the better part of 3 months at this point. So it's been a significant time investment in my life, so definitely a big milestone. Now I am curious why, because we're only at 8. Like, it got rid of my speed requirement. I still think I have the requirement under 10. But anyway, I'm going to get going here, and we'll pick this back up when we're on the other side. Well, I am back. I'm here on the ground in Atlanta. Unfortunately, I had thought I was recording the landing, and you missed a good one. I came down 88 feet per minute. I was like light as a feather. It was probably the best landing I've had. So I think I'm getting a handle on several things, not just the Cessna, but just overall what I need to be doing in flying a plane. So not even just in Flight Simulator, but flying Flight Simulator simulates a bit, obviously, of plane flying, and so yeah, just sloughing off the speed fast enough. So I was explaining all kinds of things about what was happening, and went to stop the recording, and as sometimes happens on the channel, realized, oh darn, I wasn't recording at all. So I had been covering it from 45 miles out, but in any event, we are here. We have landed. I think we're here for the Folds of Honor race, the event, but the thumbnail will tell you that. I did apologize, or wanted to apologize, for kind of the abrupt ending. I was basically trying to get the plane in the air and on autopilot before I had to step away for a while and just let the plane fly for 3 hours. So I suddenly realized that as I was starting to get into this part of the discussion and kind of explain, yeah, I've got that S1 certification on VATSIM, and that has been sucking up a lot of my time as well. So just wanted to explain a bit of what is happening and what I'm getting pulled into. Not sure if or when any of that VATSIM stuff might turn into channel content. I've got some ideas potentially, because I think I do bring a perspective that might be helpful to other folks, which is someone who just has no knowledge of this world before I got involved in it 3 months ago. So I think I'm fresh enough and raw enough from that as I've gone through this experience, if I get it down and share it in videos on the channel in pieces, so that someone who's coming into it like me might be able to consume it and help speed up their understanding, that might help. So I'm kind of thinking through that, just not entirely sure the best way to present some of that, but you may see some content on the channel related to that. But I'm also then diverting some portion of my time to now trying to control on the VATSIM network, because I have spent about 8 hours doing that in the last couple days since I got certified. Have really enjoyed it, which is kind of what I figured would happen. There's definitely something to it versus Tower Simulator 3 that is significantly different. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know when they're going to show up. People will have unique conversations with you. They may not understand how to do something. Like, those don't happen in some other scripted game. So in any event, that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. Obviously there was a landing going on, but I'm not going to keep going and take as much time as that did, because there was something to watch there. Now you're just watching me sit on a taxiway here. So only other thing I was saying is the typical ending. If you enjoyed this and didn't drop a like, please consider that. But if you didn't like it for some reason, please leave a comment. I'm always open to feedback. Can't promise or guarantee I'll take it all, because sometimes people aren't constructive, and sometimes it's just I'm not interested or I disagree with it. But I will at least give you the courtesy of a reply and explain where I stand on it and why. So feel free to let me know if you are a flight sim fan, would maybe enjoy these if I did something a little bit different, and would enjoy them more. So let me know. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider that. That helps with you finding things and all the channel algorithms and so forth. And with that, I will see you next time.